Hey everyone, wanted to come back today and talk about another aspect of Linux. Just really wanted to discuss and kind of a dialogue in this video on how to choose a desktop environment or a DE in Linux as a beginner. Start things off, the desktop environment and what it is and how you use it. It's really important because if you're not just using your Linux machine as just as without just as CLI only, it's very important because you'll be looking at it and interacting with it every day. So you want to make sure you have something that not only you like, but that's also you're able to do things that's easy to use. Or if you like a challenge, you can have a more challenging one. That's up to you. But essentially, how to choose a desktop environment as a beginner. You really have to kind of take a high level look at all the ones out there. I know some popular ones such as GNOME, XFCE, Mate, LXQT. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones, or the KDE Plasma, a lot of the big ones out there. You really got to kind of take a look and try and give your hand into it and see how it goes. Essentially, it's pretty easy on almost all distributions, from my experience, to be able to swap out which desktop environment you're using, especially if you're in a VM and you install Debian, but by default you have XFCE, but then you want to try Mate or GNOME or some other desktop environment. It's pretty easy to switch them out. I know sometimes on like the login screen there's like a little button depending on what you run, and you can kind of click that, and from there there's a little drop down and you can switch your desktop environment. So you really have to kind of try each one and figure out what's right for you. Now the big thing is that some of these desktop environments, if you're very limited on like space, RAM, memory, and you don't have a very good like graphics card, or it's an integrated one that's not very good either, you want to make sure that sometimes you're going to want to use more of a lightweight one. For me personally, I do have a pretty decent like laptop, as you see in the background, but I still use XFCE. I just like XFCE because it's really lightweight. It's really easy to run. Also, it's really customizable, as most desktop environments are. But this one, I just feel like you can really, kind of get into the weeds and customize it. Now, that might not be the same for some of you. Some of you guys might just want something that works and you don't give a crap about customization. That's totally fine. You can use GNOME, for instance, in that case, or I know KDE Plasma. I don't know how much you can customize it, but I think you can use it. It's pretty good out of the box too, so you don't have to customize it. But really, it's really important though that you find something that works for you, because that is what you'll be interfacing with Linux every day. It's almost, to me, when choosing a Linux distribution, it's not so much the distribution, but you really got to think about the desktop environment. And because that's, if you're not like a power user or sysadmin and not just using the command line, you're really going to be using the desktop environment each and every day, clicking through the GUI and whatnot. As well, a little bit of a backstory. When I first started out with Linux, I used the Cinnamon desktop environment that came with Linux Mint. So I like Cinnamon because it kind of looked to me as it resembled Windows like Vista, Windows 7 era a little bit, and it was really smooth and nice, and it had a lot of like helpful features. With Cinnamon, there's almost like a GUI for everything. Even if you didn't need it, it was there. As well with Cinnamon, and I know a couple other desktop environments have this too, but they had like their own software manager GUI, which is kind of nice because if you're new to Linux and you're not sure how to install through the command line, if it's something you don't want to do, you can always use the software manager store, which is really nice. Just a couple clicks and you got your packages installed and you're ready to go, and it adds a shortcut for you. So yeah, it really comes down to what works for you, and don't be afraid to try new things, and also like kind of toy with the customization. Because kind of like I said a couple of times, it's going to be you that's using it every day. So really, how to choose one, to sum it all up, just try a bunch and see how you like it, and go from there. It's because you'll be the one that's actually physically interacting with it. It doesn't matter what's under the hood. I mean, it does, but if you want it to work a certain way for you, you got to see what works for you. But on my advice, honestly, just boot up a VM, or if you have an old PC and you have an old PC, excuse me, that you can just use. Boot that up with, put a like a blank distribution on it, Debian, Linux Mint, Ubuntu, whatever you want, and just kind of be, install a couple desktop environments and just see how it runs, and try to do some things you want to do. It's really up to you, but honestly, XFCE and Cinnamon are probably my favorite. I've tried Mate recently. That one was pretty cool. I know I want to try I did LXQT, I think. That was pretty cool too. So those are a couple I would recommend, but if you guys have any other recommendations, put them down below. But yeah, that's pretty much my little video on how to choose a desktop environment as a beginner. I'll see you guys later. Peace.